fall back into old habits. A Brownlow medalist returns to his best, and the Dogs freight train rolls on. All that and more to come from the round so far, brought to you by AAMI. But Kane Corns, we start tonight in Sydney. Our big story from the clouds, the Giants. They were 21 points down and couldn't hit the side of the barn for most of the night.
Let's look at the last 5 minutes in the dying stage of this. The frustration from Leon Cameron. Himmelberg missed. He missed again there, as you just saw. Then Toby Green with some brilliance. He kicked 1 goal 7. 0 goal 7 to this point for Toby Green, but had the composure and the courage to go back and slot that one to keep him in it. This is a nightmare for Sydney, the last stoppage, which we will look at, where Josh Kelly gets on the end of it. But what a fortnight for them.
Yeah.
Come to the MCG with 7 players under 10 games last week and beat Collingwood. Go to the SCG against one of the hottest teams in the comp and knock off Sydney in the big rivalry game. And do this. Luke Parker, what a star he is. A couple more centimetres and that would have been a win for Sydney. But Nick Haynes saved the day. The ball comes out. Dawson probably should have had a shot here.
One of the best kicks in the comp on his left from 55.
Thought he should have had a shot. Could have run around with the new rules and had a ping. Ball kept coming out, then going back in. Sydney had their opportunities until late when this one comes out. And Toby Green gives a free kick away to McCartan, who had a Malcolm Blight shot after the siren that was never going to make it. And the Giants hold on and keep their season alive. What a game it was.
And the Sydney's bubble's been burst momentarily. They so hot to start the season, now fall to 4-1. We want to go back to that Josh Kelly goal, though, in the dying stages. Talk us through this, and how is he left alone in this very moment?
Look at the 2 Sydney players to the right there. One of them is McInerney. Had to put a body on Josh Kelly on the back of the stoppage. Free rein running in top of the goal square with a minute to go. So young player, they will learn from that. They will train that. They'll watch the vision and work it out, because you would hope that wouldn't cost them in a big final. But well done to Josh Kelly, a moment of individual brilliance. Hasn't been at his absolute best, but his last 2 weeks he's been significant for them.
Got to be manning up a play like that when he's on $900,000 plus.
I would have thought so.
A season. Now, most of this game we were waiting to go bang on Buddy. 5 goals straight for the first time since 2016, Kane. This whole game was about to be built around this man. I just can't believe he's goal kicking right now, and the way he used to get the ball in his hands from set shots, and we used to question whether he's going to kick it. He looks so assured now, 11-3 for the season.
He wasn't reliable from anywhere sort of inside 40 metres. You'd trust him outside 50 or just on 50, but now he, maybe in the time off where he has been injured, he's had some time to focus and get his technique down pat. But this is strong as well. 5 contested marks tonight. His leading timing is a thing of beauty. Like, he's not clearly got the speed and the agility and the athleticism that he once had, but his timing on the lead and when to lead and how to lead into space is as good as anyone. That's why he's got 955 goals or something to his name. He'll get to 1,000 and you'll love to see it.
Does he do it this year?
Not quite, but it won't be far into next year, I think, if he keeps going like this.
And just quality. Those Giants jumpers look, I reckon they're pretty sharp, the new charcoal.
Magnificent.
The Giants now to Carlton, Kane at the MCG. You were there to watch this. Talk us through some of these, because it feels like the Carlton of old, despite their wins over the last fortnight.
Yeah, it was a horrible performance from Carlton and a real soul-searching one. So they're in the game to half-time. Contested stuff is good, clearances is good, but this is the difference. Their ability to turn the footy over in the front half and choose the wrong options like that is just horrible. Mark Murphy, senior players, kicking it to Port Adelaide spare time and time again. This is the flip side. This is the difference in the game. Look at Port Adelaide's speed of ball movement, choosing the right option and executing in front of centre. That was the difference. If you look at all the stats, pretty even, but just the class differential in the 2 sides going forward. Port Adelaide's forwards had a field day tonight. Georgiades was great. Robbie Gray kicked 3. Fantasia was sharp. Rosie had his moments. And at times, it did look like a training drill. I mean, look at this. Uncontested marks inside 50. A lot of soul-searching for David Teague. Their backline looks incredibly shaky with Plowman, Petrevski, Seaton back there. Jones was shaky tonight.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's been a really ordinary start for a side who we thought should be challenging, but are just miles off it.
And what about the skipper? Start of the season, we know he's injured, but he come back the last couple of weeks and has been good. Talk us through this one, because this started the ball rolling late in the first.
Well, it was symptomatic of the team. I mean, the amount of opportunities that Cripps had tonight. I mean, what option is he choosing there? That is a kick, high, hope stuff. That is a captain of a footy club choosing the worst possible option. Look at the bottom of the screen there. Free kick, 50-metre penalty to Motlop. Look at the time, just before half-time. Lycett goes back, kicks the goal. Outmarked here by his opposing, sorry, not the skipper, but player in Cleary. He just had a really ordinary night. Gets plenty of the ball. I think he's got a decision to make, Patrick Cripps. Do you want to be Trent Cotchin leader, or do you want to win Brownlow medals and best and fairest and do what you're doing? Because right now, Patrick Cripps has played in 33 wins for his career and hasn't played a final. He's 26 years of age. He wants $1 million.
Yeah.
He's not playing like a player that deserves $1 million.
Is he doing too much of the flashy stuff knowing that he's out of contract?
Well, I think so. I think he's trying to be the best player on the ground. Be the best leader for your team on the ground. I mean, do and play to your strengths. Going forward, not his strength. Kicking the ball inside 50, not his strength. Carrying the team on your back, winning contested footy, shoveling it out to the rest is your strength. Right now, he appears to be doing too much and gone away from that.
Their best backman, Jacob Wiedering, went down momentarily with a pretty heavy hit. This was interesting. Stays down, takes the kick here in the end and actually played out the game.
Well, the medicos did the right thing. Look, he's out there. His eyes are shut. He is out for 2 to 3 seconds. He got up to see the physio. The doctor's there. They're trying to get him off. He wouldn't. I'm surprised the umpire didn't blow his whistle and say, no. Stop play. Off you go. Concussion test. He went and had the concussion test. Came back on. I'm not going to question the Carlton medicos and Carlton doctors. They know a lot more about it than me. But didn't think it was a great look that he came back on and finished the game, and more importantly, took his kick straight after that incident. To
Brisbane we go next. They started the night in 16th. They've shot up to 9th. Complete dismantling of Essendon tonight in the wet, and this man, Lachie Neale, back to his best.
Great to see the Brownlow medalist back in form, and I think he's going to get better the longer the season goes on, because from all reports from those up there watching them in Brisbane, he didn't have much of a pre-season. It's going to take him some time to adjust to the new rules and to get his match fitness up. I love it when he's kicking the ball, Lachie Neale, and he made a conscious effort to do that last year. High metres gained, he had 19 kicks tonight, and he's always done this. He's always been one of the best players in traffic. So a real leader's performance, a real statement to get back in form. He said that he's struggling. He played and returned to the form we know he's so strong at.
Almost feels like a bit of a turning point in this performance tonight for Brisbane. They're back in their own beds, back in their home state. And Jared Lyons said post-game that it almost felt like they played too selfish in the first month of the season. Now they're back and back to 9th now, and they've got that winning form back. Joe Daniher, talk about this performance here. Career high 25 disposals against his old team, and did this in the wet.
Perfect night for him, not conditions-wise, but output-wise. So as you said, career high 25, couple of goals, just playing with freedom. Like, we haven't seen him move like this and have the confidence in his body to be able to do this. I mean, they've got no issues throwing him in the ruck or throwing him behind the ball if they need it. He can be a real weapon for them all over the ground, not just forward. McStay's back in there now as well, which gives them some more flexibility in the forward line. But he enjoys his footy, and he'll love that, playing against his old side and being one of the better players.
A small concern for the Lions late. Oscar McInerney hurt his ankle again, so that'll be a watch during the week. And Jordan Ridley for the Bombers subbed out with concussion. Looks like he'll miss Anzac Day, a massive blow for that back half. Now to the Western Bulldogs next, Kane. They were way too dominant for the Gold Coast Suns. 5-0 for the first time in 75 years and built off the back of their skipper.
What about the start in this game? Well, they just burst out of the blocks, didn't they? And they play Marvel Stadium better than any team in the competition. You don't want to get them here. I mean, their ball movement on this deck is... They're the most dangerous team in the competition, probably equal to West Coast when they play at Optus Stadium. But Marcus Bontempelli, this is just men against boys sort of stuff. I think he's genuinely the second best player in the competition now, behind Dustin Martin.
What more does he need to do, though?
He's out of contract. He wants 6 years. They want to give him 5. Well, if he keeps playing like this, he'll get 8, because he is just red hot. I reckon he's selfless too. We spoke a little bit about Patrick Cripps. I think he plays where the team needs him. He doesn't focus on getting 30. Yes, he had that tonight. But if there's a match-up forward, or if the other midfielders are dominating, he's happy to go forward and sacrifice his game. So I think he's one of the more selfless players in the game. Clearly brilliant and just a joy to watch. 17
contested possessions for Josh Dunkley as well today. But what more does Bont need to do? Is it purely because his team hasn't stood up in finals like Dusty?
Well, nothing. Like, being the second best player in the competition is a pretty big rap.
Yeah.
He's not going to knock off Dusty, the 3-time Norm Smith medalist.
Oh, he's going pretty well at the moment, Marcus Bontempelli. Talk about this first half. Have a look at some of the numbers here. This is the first half against the Suns. We're waiting for the Suns to do something and still weren't able to do it today.
Yeah, so we put it on the radar last week, Gold Coast. Like, where exactly are they at? And we keep expecting them to come, but they don't. And they're just, at times, uncompetitive. I don't know if it's the culture up there. Do they train competitively enough against each other? Is there enough senior players driving it, like we have at Richmond and the really stronger clubs? Because some of the footage today, when they review it, they just won't want to see it.
Well, this one will come up in the review, no doubt. We'll pause it in a moment, but have a look at the defending here from Gold Coast Suns. The Dogs almost give them 3 chances to clear the ball here.
Just have to get that ball over the goal line. Whatever you have to do, you got to defend like your life depends on it. Almost that soccer mentality where you just don't want to give up a goal. They could have rushed it. How many opportunities do they have here? And we'll pause it there. 12 players we counted. Trust us.
12.
12. We counted them. 12 Gold Coast players couldn't get that job done. And Stuart Dew can sit there on the boundary line, but he won't want to review that. So, no, it's season over for them in terms of playing finals. And once again, it's about development and asking when are they going to come. But we've been asking that for 8 years.
And 4th year now for Stuart Dew in the top seat. That could have been well part of our AAMI clangers for this week. Kane, this is how well the Dogs are going. They're lining up for goals. Marcus Bontempelli almost could have soccered this one for himself.
Yeah, he just does his best to get out of the way. He could have run into another open goal, but as I said, he's selfless, gets out of the way beautifully with a bit of ballet work. And the Eagle...
Potential AAMI clanger. That could have gone...
The Eagle. What's he doing?
That could have gone anywhere if the Eagle got involved in the crowd. Chris Fagan, there's a few of these deliberate out of bounds paid tonight. Chris Fagan not happy with this one.
What do you reckon he thinks of that rule? Failing to keep the ball in. And Jared Roughhead going
4 flags
for
is one at AFL level.
A shot from 20 metres out directly in front, and he kicks it into the man on the mark. What's going on?
Ruffy needs to, I think, practice a bit more down at Saints training. AFLW Grand Final today. Amazing result for Brisbane. Packed crowd at Adelaide Oval. Kane. Courtney Hodder here with this goal,
what a goal
out of mid-air. Goal of the year, unfortunately, played during the home and away season. But the Lions, their first premiership of 3 attempts. Emma Zilke and Laura Arnold stars of that side, retiring after so.
Yeah, everything you'd expect from a grand final. Tough, physical. Thought Brisbane's defence and their ability to intercept the ball, particularly in the first quarter, was outstanding today. So congratulations to them. Just an amazing performance and a great season. And the competition just keeps getting stronger.
Kate Lutkins, the best on-ground medalist. Key part of Brisbane's defence. Back to Friday night, Collingwood West Coast. Darcy Moore starting forward. What do we make of this? Because it almost feels like it's robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Well, firstly, I like that Nathan Buckley tried something. And it worked. Like, come in at quarter time and he was getting involved. Brodie Grundy was pushing forward and getting involved. Then after that, once the midfield of the Eagles got on top, he was sort of standing in the forward line, not doing a lot. So I think his long-term home is in defence. He's an All-Australian defender and he provides so much drive and flair out of there. I do think he still needs to defend better one-on-one, but he can work on that. But I've got no issue with Nathan Buckley, who was under the pump, trying to try something and make some moves in the coaching box, because that's what coaching's all about.
First bounce Anzac Day. Ridley's out injured. Where do you start?
I think he goes back.
Okay.
I don't think it's a long-term move. I think it was a bit disruptive to have a look at Barras and McGovern and how they would handle that, and particularly with Cox out. So whether Cox comes back in and Moore goes back, I'm not sure what they'll do, but clearly they're up against it with the injuries they've got at the Pies.
You want to take a look at the West Coast ball movement, as you mentioned, on their home deck, as good as anyone in the competition. Take us from the D50 here.
Yeah, it's just a different type. Like we've all spoken about the new stand rule, the way the game's been played, higher scoring, faster ball movement, yet Adam Simpson and West Coast are very, very happy to have time in possession and control the ball. And it's a good tactic because it takes a fair amount of gas out of the opposition. It denies them possession. And if you can do that methodically, it's very frustrating for the opposition to have to defend that. Of course, you've got to hit your targets. You don't want to turn the footy over, then it looks horrible. But I did like their patience and going against the grain of what a lot of other sides are doing at the moment.
And that man there, Oscar Allen, absolutely firing at the moment. With Josh Kennedy have a quiet night. Pretty handy when you have a 3rd or 4th year player like him bob up and fire like he did. Have a look at these Pies' age and their list demographic at the moment. What do you make of this? Because all bar Mason Cox and the injured Jamie Elliott played from this side. Where do they go to from here, Nathan Buckley?
Well, at some point you need to look at where's your next premiership coming from. And during the trade period, when we've spoken about it a lot, but when they got rid of the players they did, the quotes were, well, we like the draft and we want to play some of the kids. Now, Nathan Buckley sort of scoffed at that suggestion during the week, but I find that amusing because that's the language coming from his club. His club wanted to go to the draft. His club liked the kids. And they wanted to get some youth into the side, but they're not. They're not doing that. So whether they've drafted poorly, whether they're not ready, all of that. But at some point you've got to work out, well, when do we foresee our next premiership? And are these guys going to be a part of it? And then make the calls around that. But it appears as though it's going to be a pretty long year for the Magpies.
I can't wait to see what they do at selection in the next month. Back to Thursday night, Richmond and St Kilda, almost a carbon copy of the semi-final last year, Kane. Last year it was 8-4 from stoppages the Tigers kicked. Thursday night, 8-6 from stoppages.
Yeah, well, Marshall's a big bloke, clearly, but that doesn't get them away from how poor their performance was on Thursday night. It was just to do this on the back of when we thought they'd turn their season around, and this to see Marlon Pickett in the ruck and just grabbing it out of the air. That's sort of Harlem Globetrotter type stuff and almost toying with the opposition. Carlisle would be embarrassed about that. We'll even have another look at it. That's Carlisle up against Pickett in the ruck, would you believe? And he wins it clean and handballs it off to Edwards, who was enormous. So, look, it was a statement performance from Richmond, coming off 2 losses. They made a statement. But Brett Ratton, he's called them embarrassing.
Yeah.
1 week. He said they're a danger of falling off a cliff the next. There's only so many times a coach can sort of pull that lever, and we're at round 5. So, yeah, it's going to be pretty ugly down at Moorabbin.
And the skipper said they're going to hold players accountable for those sort of actions 2 weeks ago. So let's see what happens at the training track this week. We wanted to highlight a couple of these Richmond moments. Almost feels like their physicality and their aggression is back. Just want to watch Tom Lynch in this one. Goes to the marking contest, doesn't mark it, almost forgets the ball's in play here, Kane.
He does, and he comes back, and look at the aggression. He's sort of been, asked to get a little bit dirty and fight, and that's what proud teams do when they come off the back of 2 losses. Now, the loss against Port Adelaide was nothing to be ashamed of. I thought that result could have gone either way, and they were really strong. And then Revolt, when you see big forwards tackling and pressuring inside 50 in the last quarter, as you say, when you're up by that much, that is a good sign. It was back to the way Richmond play, running in waves, fast ball movement, pressure the life out of the opposition, and St Kilda had no answers for it.
To the rest of the round next, some monster selection calls here, starting with Rory Lobb, back in massive quick time from that knee injury.
Yeah, I do like Fremantle's ins. Griffin Logue comes back in as well. Rory Lobb definitely gives them another option forward and a backup in the ruck. Melbourne have lost some key players in Bailey Fritsch. That's a nasty one and an unfortunate one, and also Stephen May. And big changes at your Cats.
Yeah, Sam DeConning in for his debut. Jordan Clark dropped. That's a big call from Chris Scott. Can't get a spot in that defence. Pushed out of the wing with Smith and Menegola. So a big few weeks for him, because WA clubs will pick up the phone if they haven't already after seeing that news tonight.
Well, they're all in, the Cats. Speaking of age and where you're at, Geelong have once again left out a couple of younger players. Guthrie's another one of those, and gone all in with the age of their squad. So if they don't win it this year, I'm not sure where to for the Cats.
One more thing, just quickly. Little Birdie tells me that you caught a tram from the MZG to the Round So Fast studios tonight. Is that true?
Well, I couldn't get an Uber. Good luck trying to get a taxi.
With Carlton fans. You've
Uber.
Been the biggest critic of Carlton.
Well, the Carlton fans had their heads in their hands, so they didn't even notice I was on the tram. They got a lot bigger problems to worry about than me being on a tram.
All right, Kane. Good luck getting home. We'll hopefully see you same time, same place here on the Round So Far next week.